Good morning. This is a session on farming techniques. The Rotary School in Channapatna needed to work on a project where they could collaborate or get an introduction from an international vineyard. Their interest was in knowing more on how to farm grapes and how to make wine. And we connected with a few vineyards in Brazil. And one of them is close to Sao Paulo. And Fabio readily accepted to give an introduction to the students in Channapatna, secondary grade students. And the session is going to be held on October 21st and 22nd, back to back. The complete presentation would be audiovisual and would be on Zoom and would be presented by Fabio. We thank Fabio and Jose for making this happen. This will be the first time we are conducting such program across geographies. Hopefully, it is a big motivation for the rural students. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Fabio Nascimento. I'm talking from Brazil in the state of São Paulo. And I'm going to present to you a Terrazos Winery overview. I'm going to introduce and present some techniques of vine growing or growing for winemaking. Growing grapes for winemaking. So I hope you will enjoy. Everyone, good afternoon. I'm Fabio Nascimento. I'm the owner of Terrazos Winery in Amparo, São Paulo, Brazil. And it's a pleasure being here talking with you guys. And I hope this will be very pleasure meeting for all of us. And if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to ask. I also apologize for my English. It has been some time that I don't speak, so I may miss some words, some vocabulary, but we will manage it together. Okay. So if you have any question at any time or anything that I speak and you don't understand, please feel free to stop me and ask at the time, or if you want to wait and ask later, also it's good. Okay. So Terrazos is a family-owned winery, very small in São Paulo, and I think we have some characteristics here that it may be very nice for you to hear and understand, because it can be some kind of inspiration to anyone. Because we started this project in 2002, and when we started the project, we had just a piece of land. We were not from agriculture. We didn't have any farm, we didn't have any house, we didn't have anything that you see in this picture. And we started from scratch. And so this was built along the last 18 years. We have been built every year. If I saw your picture year by year, you see difference in the infrastructure, in the winery, in the vineyard. So it's a project that is moving and growing along the time. And talking about, I will start just with this overview. So this is the picture done by a drone that it can give you an overview of the infrastructure that we have in the place. So as you can see, it's a small winery. It's not a big winery. When we're talking about a small winery, we are producing around 20,000 liters of wine per year. So this is for the wine industry is considered very small. Let's say that even small wineries can produce 100 liters, 100,000 liters a year. And if we go to bigger wineries, they will produce maybe millions of liters per year. Okay. But considering that the wine industry is very traditional, it's very simple, you know, um, it's um, to do 10,000 liters or to do 1 million liters of wine. It's the same process. Of course, the scale is different. The machines will need to be different and everything. But so everything that I show you here, it's somehow valid also for big wineries. Okay. In terms of, we have today planted around 3 hectares of vineyards. It's approximately 1,500, no, 15,000 vines. Um, that leads to producing around 20,000 liters. We also buy some grapes from external vendors that are producing in the region in order to increase a bit the production. And in the states that you see here, it includes the winery, it includes the restaurant, and we have infrastructure for what we call enoturism, um, the tourism related with wine. And in a regular weekend, we can receive maybe around 400, 500 people in the visiting the wine. Okay. Um, so just to give you a brief overview here of the property, you, you see my pointer here, or can you see it where I put the mouse, or it's not showing you?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay. So here is the main building where we have the winery itself. This is where I'm pointing right now. And here on the right, we have the infrastructure for the restaurant with a closed space for receiving some guests and some tables for the restaurant. And here is the main garden in the entry of the property. Uh, right in front of the garden, we have a deck where we have a very nice view of the mountains that I will show you in some minutes. On the different level here, we have another garden with a new deck that we have tables for people to sit and drink and eat and enjoy the view. And here, this other building, we have the space for an store where we sell the wines, and we have some stock rooms that we keep the stock of wines and different things. Okay. So let's move. So here I just locate the terrazos and in Amparo, São Paulo. Where is it in the map of Brazil? So we have here Brazil, which is a big country, just like India. And we are located here in a latitude 22 grades south. And I like to point this out because this is not a traditional area for grape growing and winemaking. And I know that this is very similar to India, but in terms of latitude, and we will show in a different map. But of course, India is in the north hemisphere and Brazil is in the south hemisphere. Here we can see it better. So São Paulo is here, very close, and Amparo is very, very close to this Tropic of Capricorn in the southeast of Brazil, just what I'm pointing now. And you guys should be somewhere around here, which is around the Tropic of Cancer, which is in the North Hemisphere, right? Uh, and and I think this is nice because we are in very similar latitudes, although we are in different parts of the world. But when we mean latitude, we I mean how far we are from the equator line, and of course you guys in the north and Brazil here in the south. But okay, and why I'm talking about this because. Of course, this latitude influence the weather conditions, and the weather conditions, as we will see further, it's one of the main influences for growing grapes for winemaking. We need specific weather conditions, and here, if we see, we are in a tropical zone or tropical, subtropical, and like in India, you are in subtropical zone. Okay, so we may have some maybe similar conditions for growing the grapes. I don't know exactly how much of grapes if India is growing a lot of grapes or not. I think no, but some things that I will explain later. We may discuss and exchange some ideas. Okay. Questions so far? No. Okay. Okay. So this is the same view, just a little bit bigger, where you can see the things that I explained later before earlier. Um, Okay, this is the Zoom with the deck that I told that we have some tables, we have people here, we have some tables also in the garden that people will stay, enjoy, and we are doing picnics where people can sit also with a tower in the grass and enjoy the day with the friends, family, and maybe drink some wine, eat, and enjoy the time. So this is the view of the main garden, and this is where we have a nice view of the mountains. We don't have snow and anything around here, but it's still a mountain, and it's a nice view of the mountain. We are here almost 900 meters of altitude, and these mountains that we see here, they have around 1,000 meters of the altitude. And one of the nice things that we have in the view is that we have a very open view of the valley and of the mountains, and this is very special. It's attracting the people very much. Okay, when we are talking about growing grapes and making wine and enoturism, we are always talking about nice places with beautiful views, with the beautiful weather, and usually it all goes together. I don't know why, but this is like this all around the world. I think the grapes like beautiful places, and the wine making also is somehow attracted to this kind of place. Okay. This is the view from the top, a little bit higher. See, it's an older view. You see here that we have different things here that we don't have in the other view, which is the other view is newer. Like we have deck here, this garden with the white stones, and we have a new garden here that we see in different pictures. But I brought this picture because we can see together the infra structure, the main buildings here, and we have one vineyard on the left, and we have another vineyard in the right. Okay, and each one of these area has 1 hectare of vineyard, and we have another vineyard in front that we don't see in this picture, but this was just for you guys to get an overall view of the property. Okay. This is a view of a vineyard, of Syrah vineyard. And this is a nice garden that we did that was inspired in the one of the designs of the Versailles Chateau in French. And the idea was to bring a different experience for the people that visit the winery to have a different a garden which was inspired in a nicer garden that is in Versailles Chateau, and this people like it very much also. This is the view, a different view of the garden. Just a picture of the grapes ready for harvest. This was from August this year. So we can have here the grapes, and you see that we have some net here that is used, and this is not used everywhere in the world, but we need to use here because we have a lot of green around, and we don't have much fruits planted, and we have a lot of birds. So if we don't put these nets, the birds eat all the grapes, and we cannot do any wine because the birds eat the grapes, and so it was necessary to keep the grapes from the birds. Of course, it would be nice if we could plant also grapes for the birds, but we have too much birds here, and so we need to think about different alternatives. But meanwhile, we keep saving the grapes from the birds with the net. Okay, but we are not hurting the birds. That's important. Okay, so let's talk about just some basics of the vine growing base. Yes.
Fabio, there is a question from Bangalore, from the team, from the school. They are asking if they are purple grapes or white grapes.
Ah, nice. Yes, we have both. We have purple grapes and white grapes. Okay, which the white grapes usually they are kind of green, and usually as general, the purple grapes are used to make the red wine, um, where we keep and we will see this better tomorrow in the session. But the purple grapes is doing the red wine, and the green grapes or white grapes are doing the white wine. Okay, in our case, we have let's say that maybe 80% of the vines are red grapes, but we have around 20% of white grapes also. Okay.
Okay, okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So some very basics for wine vine growing for winemaking. Let's talk about a little bit of site selection, or we need to select the land where we are going to put the grapes, and this is very important. Then we talk about the vineyard establishment, how to or to plant, and how you map the vineyard for planting. Uh, it's important also to talk about the grape variety because there are many grape varieties for winemaking. Just in Italy, we we know that they have more than 2,000 local grape varieties just in Italy. So imagine when we talk about French and Portugal, which are the traditional place for winemaking and growing grapes for winemaking. So how many varieties that there are when we talk about grape for winemaking? And then we would talk a little bit about the planting stock options. So how, because there are two main kinds of planting that I will explain, and the vineyard cycles, which I will present, how is the vineyard cycle traditional for North Hemisphere for temperate weather, and how it is here in Brazil and in our condition. Okay.
Okay, Fabio, there is another question. I sorry to interfere you, but questions are coming out from the students. They,
No problem.
they are very curious, which is good. The question
Yes.
is, how many acres? What's the size of your property?
So, my property has like 12 hectares. If I'm
I
not
think overall.
mistaken, yeah, no, I'm trying to convert hectares to acres. Um, uh, so I don't have this. I don't think it's one to
Hectares
two or
or acres?
one hectares, 10,000 square meters.
2,000,
10,000. 1 hectare
20,
is 10,000.
10,000. Okay,
Yes.
10,000 square
Okay.
meters. Okay.
So 1 hectare. So we have 12. Like we have 120,000 square meters of land.
So 120,000 square meters. Is that the information?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So I just don't know. I can check this later. How much this acres? But this is a different system that we work here for measuring. But so that's why we're talking about hectares. But we need to convert, and then we have the number. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about vineyard site selection, what we the French people call terroir. Um, so there are some things we need to consider when we do select a place for vineyard growing. So we need to consider, for instance,
Só
the
no café,
physical
né?
conditions or the physical environment of the land. Let's say the land form, the altitude. Like I said, we are here at almost 1,000 meters. This is very important for us because we don't have a latitude. As I told, we are in the latitude 22. It's not a traditional area for winemaking, so we need to be in altitude in order to compensate. Um, the aspect of the land, the natural and the beauty features, what is already in the farm, the soils, the different soils of the land, the nutrients, the water, if there is water or not, if the drainage of the soil is good. For instance, we are in a slope here, so whenever it's raining, it's because the grapes doesn't like much water. They like land with not a lot of water, a dry land. So when it's raining, after the rain, it's important for us because the rain will drain out, so it will drain in the land, and it will not be in available for the grape, for the vines, because if this would be like this, it would be very problematic for growing the grapes. Also, the soil, if it has granite, if it's more sandy, if it's more chalk, all the different characteristics of the soils are important to consider when you analyze the place for growing the grapes. Also, the natural phenomena they are important. The climate, how much sun it's going over the vineyard, if it's the temperature, if it's hot, if it's cold, the seasonal variation, the cycles, how many hours of sun and how many hours of heat of the sun you have along the year, the fluctuations, if there is hazards like maybe if it's snowing, if it's raining too strong, if you have storms and all kinds of conditions. Of course, this can affect if it's something that can harm the vineyard. You need to consider also, right? Then we have the viticulture and the vineyard management. So you need the selection of the site, the designing and layout, because you can put grapes in lines like these or like these or in all different kind of positions, maybe pointing to the north, maybe pointing to the south, or maybe to the east or maybe west. Um, so the layout of the vineyard is very important. The variety of the grapes, as I mentioned, there are many different varieties. We will see it in a slide later. And also the root stock. And I will explain that we have a different root stocks that we need to consider when planting. And serves like irrigation. Irrigation, it depends if it's a very dry place, it's also important. For instance, here where I established the vineyard, I didn't have a irrigation, but from some years now, we start to think about irrigation and we are putting irrigation in our vineyard because the weather it's changed and the last years in Brazil has been very dry and they will say the condition about the Amazon and there are very big discussion about the weather change around the world and I don't know how it's working for you guys in India, but I can tell you in for our condition in Brazil, we definitely see different conditions coming, and every year it looks like the conditions are more severe, and the dry season is more severe, and the rainy season is more severe. It's raining more, and well, it's something that we need to consider also about the future of the weather and because the grapes are very susceptible to the weather conditions. And when we consider all these characteristics, we all these contribute to the terroir. Terroir is the term, French term that is used to characterize a specific region due to all these conditions. So that's why every different place in the world it will have a different terroir because every different place in the world it will have very specific conditions for growing the grape. Okay. I don't know if it's too small or too fast, but I'm going. If we need some time, we can continue with the session tomorrow because the winemaking session it is smaller than this today. Okay, I think we don't have enough, but I think we will have time to have some more slides and more pictures.
Okay, Fabio. Thank you. Thank you. This is very useful to understand what you said in terms of the location, the altitude to to your culture of the vineyard culture, the altitude you are, the kind of culture concept which is the terroir. So people, I think people learned a little bit about this these basics of the vineyard culture. I don't know, Ramesh or the people in Bangalore want to put some suggestion or have any further questions. Please go ahead.
Yes. You have questions? You can ask. You can come to the front of the camera and you can ask. Just tell your name. Okay.
Hello,
Tell your name.
my name is Balaji. I'm studying in ninth grade.
Still louder.
My name is Balaji. I'm studying in ninth grade. My question is, which soil is suitable for growing grapes?
Sorry, the question: what the soil is good for?
Repeat.
Which soil is suitable for growing grapes?
Which soil is suitable for growing grapes? Okay, that all different kind of soils can be used for growing grapes. Of course, you need to analyze the soil and you may need to perform some corrections. Okay, so we have so for instance here we have a soil that is a mix of sand and I think argilla. Do you remember what is argilla? Is a chalk? I think it's I forgot the word in English for this, but it's a mix of land that is it's a mix of sand and argilla, which is that kind of soil that it gets very wet and keeps the
Argilla is
water.
clay. Argilla is
Clay,
clay.
yes, that's right. So it's a mix of sand and clay. For instance, the soil that we have here. Usually, good soils for grapes have also stones, granite, limestone. Can vary a lot, and usually they say the soil should not be very with too much organic matter. So because this can unbalance the veins. So it should be a balanced soil in terms of organic matter. It cannot be too acidic. So, for instance, here in Brazil, especially in São Paulo, we need to correct the acidity of the soil to increase the pH of the soil in order to have a less acid soil to plant the grapes, and we add limestone to balance the soil for it. Thank you for the question. Preparing the site, so the first thing we need to do for preparing the site for the vineyard establishment and the soil sampling, we need to know the characteristics of the soil, and we need to perform soil correction if needed. Of course, if you have a soil that is already good for the grapes, you don't need to correct. But at least here in Brazil, we do need to correct the soil. So first thing we do the soil, and then we do the correction. Like I said, for our condition, we need to add the organic matter, and we need to add the limestone in order to increase the pH of the soil, reducing the acidity. Okay. Then you need to do some soil preparation, like subsoil and tillage. That you move the land, and you leave the land very very light in order that the roots of the grape can grow and can go further deep. Okay. Then you need to do the vineyard design, because usually we divide the vineyards in blocks. As I said before, we need to do to to create the orientation of the rows. So if the rows will be facing north or facing south or facing southeast or west or east, so we need to consider this, and we need also to consider the row spacing and the vine spacing, vine density. So, for instance, we could put 5,000 vine in 10,000 square meters in 1 hectare, or we could put 3,000 vines, changing the row spacing and changing the space between one vine to another, and this is called the vine density in the land. So there are different possibilities here. It will depend, of course, on your different kind of soil and your geography and all the conditions of the terroir. Okay.
Yes. Your name, ma'am.
Hi sir, I'm the Karam from 10th grade. My question is, what type of chemicals and pesticides is used to avoid for pests? What type of chemicals and pesticides is used to avoid pests?
What is done in order to avoid? Sorry, I couldn't.
I think she's saying pests. Why don't she come near the mic? She's sitting away from the mic. Come near the mic. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Near the mic.
My question is, what type of chemicals and pesticides is used to avoid pests?
Well, yeah, I understand the question now. Thank you. It's about the pesticides and what you use to prevent disease from the grapes, right? So this is a very good question, because when we talk about vines, they are, especially the vines for winemaking, and you did the question exactly in the right slide, because we are talking here, and I go through the slide and I will answer your question together, okay? Because we have different kind of grape varieties. We have what we call the American native grapes, which are Concord, Catawba, Niagara, and there are many different grapes that they are native from North America, from US, okay? And these grapes, they are easier for production in the sense that they are less susceptible to disease. Nevertheless, they are not very good for winemaking, or the wine that is done from these grapes, they don't have the same quality as the wine done from European grapes, okay? But they are more easier to grow, and they will have less disease, and you will need to use less pesticides to protect the vines. Okay. Then we have a different of grapes, which are the European grapes variety. Okay, so we say, for instance, Syrah, which we grow here, Merlot, Chardonnay, Cabernet Sauvignon. They are the most famous grapes in the world. Usually, the French grapes are the most famous in the world, but also we have Italian grapes like Sangiovese. We have Portuguese grapes like Touriga Nacional. We have Spanish grapes like Tempranillo. So we have a lot of European grapes. Like I said before, only in Italy they have more than 2,000 different grape varieties for winemaking. And so these they are more suitable for the temperate weather of Europe. And the Europe has a temperate weather where the summer is very dry, and usually the rain is concentrated in the winter and in the spring. But the summer, which is the phase where the grapes are, are getting ready for harvest, where they are maturating, in these conditions, it's raining very, very few. And this is good because it doesn't allow the grapes for the disease. When we talk about the European grapes, they are the best for the quality of the wine. Usually the best wines, they are done from European grapes. And when we have some kind of a hybrid grape, which are called French American, and we have here as example Baco Noir, and I put it here example of Maximo, which is a hybrid grape that was created in Brazil, which we grow here in terrazos. We grow because when we start to grow the European grapes, in the beginning it was very difficult to understand. When we started, we didn't have the knowledge, and we didn't have the know-how how to grow European grapes in Amparo. So we started at first, no one was doing this. So we put some grapes and we start to look how they were growing, and we had a lot of difficulties in the beginning. And we put this Massimo, which was created in Brazil in 1946 by a researcher in some state of São Paulo, and this was a hybrid grapes of Syrah and Sable, European grape or French grape, which was Syrah, and the American grape type, which was Sable, which was also a hybrid. And this grape grows very, very easier here. So when we start to put this grape, it start to grow much more easier than the European grapes. Okay, so this means that it's easier. You need to use less pesticides and everything. So, for instance, now you asked about the pesticides. There are some kind of fungus disease that attack the vineyard, and this is especially when it's rainy conditions that we have in the summer in Brazil. And today we are using mostly a product that is it's considered as an organic product that is called it's the same that they use in the region of Bordeaux in French. Is a composed of sulfur and copper. It has some mixture of sulfur and copper, and this is protecting the main diseases. But we may use a specific pesticide for specific diseases if it is needed. Okay, but we are trying to move here for an organic agriculture. Although today I cannot say that we are only organic, because we may use the different products if needed. But we are trying to use as much as possible the organic. And in the case of grapes, this mixture of sulfur and copper, it's very good for covering most of the diseases for grape growing. Okay, I hope that I answered your question. Soil preparation.
Hi sir, I'm Usha. I'm studying in 9th grade. My question is, which months are suitable to grow grapes In Brazil.
Yeah. Okay. Very good question, Juan. I have a specific slide for that. We are getting there. Okay. And I just ask you to wait a little bit that I will answer this question in the specific slide that I have for it. Okay. Is that okay? So, or we can move there. Let's go there, and then I will answer your question now. Okay. When we talk about a vineyard cycle, which month is good to grow the grapes, we have for when we talk about the north hemisphere, we have a cycle for traditional temperate climate. Okay. And we have the prune that is usually done in spring, which is March, April in the northern hemisphere. Then we have the growth of the grapes in spring and summer, which go June, July, maybe August. And we have the harvest when the grapes are ready for harvesting and doing the wine, which usually occurs in the summer or autumn, which is August, September usually. Okay, and the end of cycle when the vines lose the leaves and they looks like it's dead, which happens October, November, and well, it's losing the leaves. No, it's still not dead, but when it gets dormant, which is in the winter, and without leaves, which is December, January, and February. Okay, this is in the North Hemisphere. It's not what you ask. You ask what is done in Brazil, and then this is I want to explain you what is done in Brazil. Then you need to remember that we are in the south hemisphere, and the months are opposite to the north hemisphere. So, like when we talk summer in Brazil, it goes from December until March, or 20th of December until 20th of March. Okay, which is the winter in the north hemisphere. Okay, but one thing specifically I want to tell you is that we can manage two cycles in a year. Right before I explained that in the north hemisphere, you can have only one cycle per year. But because we are not in the temperate weather are these zones that usually are here and here in this latitude. Because we are more close to the tropics, we don't have too much cold, so the grape can vegetate all year long, and then because of that we can manage up to two cycles in a year, two cycles of the grape. Okay, and I heard, and I really not I apologize, but I heard that this technique of growing two cycles of the grapes in a year is also used in India. Okay, and I really I really don't have the deep knowledge of that, but I heard that in India also it's possible to have these two cycles of the grape in a year, because you're like I said before, in a latitude very very similar to the Brazilian latitude. Okay, um, so how it works here? Let's say we prune in winter, which is August, then the grapes grow in spring, September, October, November, the growth, and then the harvest occurs between December and January. And then after we harvest, we can prune it again in January or February, and then it will start the growth of the grape again in March, April, June, and then the harvest time it will be in winter, which is July, August, and then after harvest we can prune it again. And like you see, I put in a different color here because the part of the cycle which is that the grapes lose the leaves and it gets into a dormant situation, it doesn't happen, and that's why we can put 2 cycles in 1 year. Okay, so this is a different, and I believe because of the latitude that you are in India, and because I read already that this is also possible in India, I believe that it's in India also it's possible to have these two cycle in 1 year. Okay, I hope I answered your question.
Move.
I don't know how we are in terms of time. If we can continue, if you can continue tomorrow, just let me know.
I think we are almost closing. Ramesh, do you have any further point?
I still have some additional slides for the grape growing, but we can cover it tomorrow before going to the winemaking session. Okay, or we can do it today. I just need to know how you are in terms of time.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Hope again we can meet tomorrow.
Sure.
Thank you very
Sure.
much, sir, for your fruitful information regarding vineyards.
Thank you very much, Ramesh. Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the time, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. It was wonderful. The session was great. We'll meet tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, Greta. Bye.
Yeah, thank you,
Bye, everyone.
Fabio, one moment.
Sure.
Really, I couldn't join at the start, but I was there afterwards. Really appreciate you giving your time and all your wealth of knowledge to the children.
Yes.
We really
It's a
appreciate it.
pleasure. No,
Yeah.
it's my pleasure. I really appreciate your attention and time, and it's really a pleasure to share this information with you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Fabio. Thanks, Jose. We'll talk
Thank you.
later.
Thank you.
Okay. Till tomorrow. Bye.
You, bye-bye.
Okay.